Yo, Shortbox Nation, this is Badr, and I'm here to tell you right now that con season starts early this year with the return of Northeast Florida's premier anime, comic book, and sci-fi event, Collective Con. That's right, Northeast Florida's largest pop culture convention returns for its 10th year on March 8th through the 10th at the Prime Osborne Center in Jacksonville, Florida. 10 years of Collective Con, they're pulling all the stops out to make sure this is a can't-miss event. And the guest list they got going, don't even get me started on the guest list. I mean, they've got A-list celebrity guests and voice actors from some of your favorite movies, anime, and video games like Elijah Wood and Sean Ashton, Ray Park, Trisha Helfer, Ross Marquand, Max Middleman, and Bo-Katan herself will be there, Katie Sackhoff. Tell me what other convention is giving you the opportunity to meet Frodo and Sam from Lord of the Rings, Darth Maul, and One Punch Man all under the same roof. Only at Collective Con. And if you're looking to get some of your favorite comics signed, or if you want to get an original sketch from some of the best comic artists in the world, well, you're in luck, because there'll be plenty of comic and creator guests there, like DC comic artist extraordinaire Clay Mann, Harvey Award-nominated illustrator John Taylor Christopher, Marvel and DC cover artist Chris Stevens, and acclaimed Star Wars author Timothy Zahn. They'll all be at Collective Con this year. And if you're looking to bring the family, or if you want to make a weekend out of it, you're in luck, because there'll be so much going on at Collective Con that weekend in the form of vendors, fan panels, video game tournaments, cosplay contests, after parties, and a bunch of fan events. You can purchase single and 3-day weekend passes now using the link in this episode's show notes, or by going to collectivecon.com to book your tickets and hotel. Buy your tickets now, and I'll see you at Collective Con, March 8th through the 10th. Now let's start the show. Would you guys agree that this is one of those titles that, whether it's a large or small extent, revolutionized Image?
Hell yeah. Justin Jordan, he's been consistently good at writing comics that if you don't know anything about comic books, you can give that to somebody and that could be their first comic and they'd be like, this is a fucking awesome story. I want more of this guy.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Shortbox Podcast, Season 7.
Shortbox Podcast was recorded before a live internet audience.
Steve Dillon and Brian Bolland are kind of the same career-wise, right? Like 2000 AD dudes, right? Cut their teeth doing that. They both did Dread. But as far as my personal taste, I like Brian Bolland better. Personal taste.
I like Bisley.
Me too.
I'm a lunatic.
Well, Bisley's good too, but he's not on the
Oh, he's not?
the winning list.
Oh.
No.
Yeah, the two that are in the
remember.
neck and neck are Steve Dillon and Dave Gibbons.
Well, we got 6 days before the...
6 whole days.
Yeah, we got 6 days. And I'll go back and remind people, hey, it ends in 6 days.
Yo, make sure you vote for Brian Bolland if you
Or
get
Simon
a chance.
Bisley.
Are we allowed to do that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh.
Not us.
Oh. Wait.
No, I'm saying, are we allowed to say
Endorse a
Yeah.
candidate?
Yeah, God, yeah,
hell
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Okay,
This
Steve
is
Dillon.
this is the Democratic.
Yeah.
Father's like, this is the Democratic Republic of Shortbox.
Oh.
We'll just see who's the most
Yeah,
popular.
Potter's gonna, like a dictator, like re-edit what we say, and he's like, "You guys, of course, you can endorse whoever you want to win." Oh, cool. Well, I'm gonna choose Steve Dillon. It's like Potter goes, it's clearly his voice. Like Ashley's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna endorse."
Stanley.
He's not even on the list.
He's listened to
That's awesome.
You listen to a Beatles album? That's British.
Oh, my God. Stanley. All right, y'all ready to reintroduce ourselves?
Yes.
Yo, Shortbox Nation. Welcome to episode 310. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you're ready to hear us deep dive into some comic books. This week's show will specifically spotlight the critically acclaimed superhero action horror comic, The Strange Adventures of Luther Strode. But that's not all we'll be talking about today. Our still kind of newish segment, No Comic Shop for Old Men, returns this week. And if time allows, we'll talk a little bit about this week's latest WandaVision episode. But first, allow me to reintroduce my panel of talented, sarcastic, and lively co-hosts here with me in the Shortbox studio today. Starting with the man who sits on my left, but you all know him as my right-hand man. He has been called the El Conquistador de los Comics.
Nobody calls me that.
But I like to call him by his government name, Cesar Cordero.
What up?
What's up, El Conquistador?
Hello.
El Comico?
That's right. Chinga tu madre. That's right.
Next up on the mic is part man, part robot, but all artist. I'm talking about Edbot 5000. Mr. Edmund Danzar is in the building as well.
What's up?
Sounded sexual.
I know. I'm a pleasure bot.
That's right.
Yeah.
Pleasure Bot 5000.
Turned, yeah.
And last but not least, Closing out our panel today is Short Box Royalty, the Contessa of the crew. Miss Ashley High Road Laney Hoy has graced us with her presence today.
Hey, these intros make me nervous now.
As well they should.
Wait, why? Actually, I always paint you in such high regard, like a regal
know.
sense of like, you
Right
know.
now.
Yeah.
Right now.
Contessa is Italian for Countess, I believe.
Oh, I like that.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Still nervous.
I wish Ashley would have just been like, I like that racist motherfucker.
Just don't.
Oh, because I'm Italian. I got to be a fucking Contessa, huh?
Just don't look it up.
How's January been treating everyone? How are you guys doing this week?
Yeah.
That's all right.
Solid, I guess.
Ashley, how are things?
Oh, it's been a hellish month.
Oh no.
But I'm okay. This has been a good weekend.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'm sure most of our listeners are wondering, on a scale of 1 to 10, how is Sandor doing?
Oh, Sandor's, he's a 9. He's a 9.
Ooh,
A 9.
nice.
Yeah.
What's stopping him from being a 10?
He doesn't listen. He's very bad. I had to leave the dog park early yesterday. It was so embarrassing.
Oh no.
Damn, what the hell does a dog got to do to leave the dog park?
Hump.
All right, well, look, before we get into the main event, there's a group of awesome supporters who play a major role in help us maintain and grow this podcast that I'd like to acknowledge. Starting with the comic shop and a proud sponsor of this here show, Gotham City Limit, Jacksonville's premier place for comics, toys, collectibles, and more. If you live in the area, ever find yourself passing through Jacksonville, stop by Gotham City Limits on Southside Boulevard and tell Ben the Short Box sent you.
Yeah, honestly, man, that shot, and I don't know if we get it out enough, right? Like, it's not just like, hey, we're going to start talking about Gotham City Limit because it's that time of the show. Gotham City Limit is one of those comic book shops that feels like a comic book shop. That's a rare thing these days. A lot of times you go into a shop and it feels like a convenience store. You know, you go in, get your fucking Sprite, get your Skittles.
Not even a cool one. Not even like a cool bodega.
Right, and get the hell out, right? Like, this is kind of like you come in, you feel good. Check them out. It's worth it. You won't be sorry.
Well said. See, as you can tell, the check cleared, so we are all about
Right, absolutely. Because if it hadn't, I'm going to tell you right now, I wouldn't have said any of the shit I just said.
You're like, yo, go to the bodega and pick up your comic books. Lastly, this show is made possible in part by donations from our Patreon subscribers. Their contributions help us continue improving the show by helping us cover the cost of equipment, podcast bills, and other necessary upgrades. Thanks to them, we're able to grow the show and continue the production of episodes like the one you're enjoying now.
Give us your fucking money.
Respectively. If you're interested in supporting the show and earning our eternal gratitude and some awesome rewards like picking the topics we cover, visit patreon.com/theshortbox to become a Patreon subscriber or click the link in this episode's description. Speaking of patrons, I'd like to go ahead and shout out some good friends of the show, like Chris Milbrook, the patron who chose the topic for this week's comic book
Don't
Spotlight.
shout out too loud. He can hear you.
You're like, shoot him a text botter.
Just
all right?
something like
Keep
that.
it personal.
No, yeah, I'm actually happy that he chose to chime in on this one because this is something I'm actually familiar with and I enjoy.
Chris only suggested like super violent comic books, so it was right on my alley.
Yeah, I was
like,
about to say, I was like,
it was between this, Kill or Be Killed, and
Kick-Ass.
yeah, something else.
murder.
Yeah, something else rated M. And I, speaking of comic shops and whatnot, I want to give a warm welcome back to Mr. Jonathan Sanders, who is back at
right.
Coliseum of Comics, Riverside. If you know Jonathan, you know that he's a good friend of the show. Hell, he's even helped us out with a few live events. Or actually, our first live event, the Daredevil one, was thrown at Coliseum of Comics, and it was due in part to Jonathan. He's always been a big supporter of the show, and I'm happy to see him back at the comic shop, in the position that he loves. So if you're here in Jax, man, go ahead and tell Jonathan, hello, give him a warm welcome back. And my last two shout outs are going to go to fans, new fans of this here podcast. The first one being a Mr. Jimmy Loveless. He recently, I think, just started listening to the show. He started a pull at Gotham, and
That's not his real name.
It's not.
Can't be.
I think so.
Jimmy Loveless?
Yeah,
Sounds too cool.
I guarantee you, I think that is his government name. So shout out to Jimmy. He has some
All right, Jimmy.
He has
I
some
see
great
you.
remarks to share with Ben. And last but not least, I want to give another shout out to a listener, Mr. Tommy Hazelwood.
Also a fake name. Can't be real.
I'm telling you, see,
I'm Tommy Hazelwood. I'm here to save your life.
just because their names are cooler than ours doesn't mean they're fake. I promise.
Speak for your fucking self.
Tommy ended up responding to a topic we discussed on the last episode regarding Kung Fu-centric streaming services. He actually reached out and told me about a Haya TV. It's a martial arts and Asian action movie channel and streaming service that has a ton of the various types of kung fu flicks and whatnot.
Not to be confused with Heya TV, which is the Outcast channel.
Oh, yeah.
We're having fun, right, guys?
24/7. That's great.
So if you're interested in looking for, a kung fu centric streaming service, check out Heya TV. Thanks again to Tommy for sharing that.
If you're into that, Amazon Prime has a plethora of old martial arts films. So if that's
They
your
do.
thing, Amazon Prime's another good, if you already have it.
Well, we were talking about last episode, like which streaming service would have like some of the old Shaw Brothers kung fu flicks, and we were just kind of drawing a blank. And it looks like this Heya TV has some of them. Does Amazon Prime have like some of those older ones?
Netflix has some too. Yeah.
Okay.
Also, My House.
Oh, if you're a real fan.
Or a real friend.
Oh.
I'll be there, buddy. I'll come over. I'll steal some. I need to grab some new merch anyways from the spot. We got to do some giveaways here in the coming days. Let's go on to the main event. For those of you unfamiliar, we'll be talking about The Strange Talent of Luther Strode, Volume 1. So that's issues 1 through 6, the first arc in this trilogy. You can find the first volume easily available in most comic shops, online retailers, and even on comic streaming service Comixology. Matter of fact, you can actually read the first issue for free directly from the Image Comics website. I'll include a link to that in our episode description. Consider this your official spoiler warning, because going forward, we'll be talking about important plot points. So if you don't want it ruined for you, either pause and come back or skip to one of the other timestamps in this episode. See, do you mind helping our listeners and new friends with some context and some background on this comic?
Not at all, especially since you wrote my copy. So here we go. The Strange Adventures of Luther Strode. So this comic is published by Image, and it's written by Justin Jordan. That's somebody that we've had the pleasure of interviewing. And if you want to catch that, that's back in episode 301. And the art is done by Trad Moore. I can't speak highly enough because it's this comic is ridiculously visceral. Like when you read it, you're like, oh shit, I got to wipe blood and grizzle off of my forehead from reading all this stuff, which is an interesting look into Badr's mind. So issue 1 of the series debuted October 2011, and it spawned 2 other sequel series, right? Now, not just like, 2 other issues, like 2 other trades from this initial, the success of this first one. So The Legend of Luther Strode and also The Legacy of Luther Strode. And both of these trades subsequently ran for 6 issues each. And they were recently collected in a very sweet hardcover that I have. And that's how I was able to fucking read that shit.
Privilege.
Shit, I robbed someone for that shit, motherfucker. I stole it from your house, actually.
The cycle.
The premise is essentially about this kid named Luther Strode who comes from a single-parent family, and I think that's kind of important because it ties into the plot and also gives a little view into his psychology. He's a guy that likes comic books, and
Nerd.
if you are familiar, right, exactly. The idea being that if anybody remembers, no one I think contemporarily remembers, and we're honestly too young to remember that shit, but like in the 50s, comic books had these ads where if you basically followed all these instructions, you would be
Atlas.
right. You would be this buff ass dude, right? Well, if you just say Charles Atlas, nobody knows who the fuck that is. So the whole idea is essentially like, hey, here's how you do like 20 push-ups, do this with your arm, and then you get strong.
It'll have the kid, he'll be holding the book, kicking over a chair.
Right.
Like the bully comes and kicks sand in his face, because
Right.
that's like what you did as a bully. back
Right, I
then.
guess on the beach there was an
It's like,
epidemic
you scrawny
of
wimp.
yeah. Here, you milk toast.
And then he comes and just punches that guy right in the face.
So the idea behind the comic is essentially this guy basically, all right, I'll mail in whatever Kellogg's box tops I got to fucking get this little exercise method. He does it, and apparently it gives him superpowers. Like he gets ridiculously strong. He can train his mind to command his muscles to the tiniest sinew. If someone shoots him, he can like spit it out with his muscle. It's really weird. And if you think that's weird, it goes even weirder in the sense that, you get into murder cults and religion and, little homages to different things. It's crazy. I think it's one of the funnest comics I've read in a while. And that's something I think Justin Jordan does, is that he takes interesting ideas and just makes really fun shit that nobody's ever read before.
And I think not only that, but he also takes classic superhero tropes and puts that little spin on it.
Yep.
And makes it a kind of a new thing. But if you boil it down, it's like Spider-Man.
100%.
Eventually, like horror NC-17's violent Spider-Man.
Yeah, or Star Wars too. I mean, it's the hero's journey. Period. Yeah.
Is this anyone's first time reading this? Everyone here has pretty much read it prior. And actually, in your comic shop days, did either of you guys sell this book to people or have them add it to, or recommend it for certain people to add it to their poll?
By the time I started working at the comic shop, the first trade was out, and I read it. And I think, because when I was at the comic shop, it was like 2014, around there. And that was just like this crazy age of like so many Image books. It was like this golden age of like all these amazing books.
Number ones every week.
Yeah. Resurgence of Image.
Yeah, fantastic. So I think this kind of got like swept away by all this other stuff, where if it had come out at a different time, I definitely would have been recommending this.
Yeah, and that's the time too when like a lot of big people from Marvel and DC, they were going to Image to do their own, create their own stuff.
Yeah.
And because like so when I started, I think it was on the second or third story arc, and we didn't really have a pull for it. I think Adam actually recommended it to me back in the day. And then he mentioned and I remember the Charles Atlas from like old comics and stuff. And, then I saw Treadmore's artwork, and I was like, okay, I got to get this.
It was really
incredible.
The guy, there was this guy that he would read Crossed, and that's all he would read. And then he recommended this, and I was like,
yeah, that's
no
a guy.
way.
If someone recommends Cross to you,
yeah,
you might want to.
But I read this Luther Strode, and I was like, oh, this is actually like
that's a different mentality, because Crossed is a whole new level of fucked up stuff.
Yeah, I think this was one of those books that Amber had recommended. And she's recommended.
A big fan of Justin Jordan.
For sure. I was about to say, she's recommended anytime Justin Jordan has a new comic out, she's either recommended it or just put it in my poll. She's like, there's no way that you won't like it.
Because I think the first thing I read from him, and I didn't realize it, was probably Spread. Was the first thing I read from him.
Okay. And speaking, we'll stay on you. So a lot of adjectives and genres get thrown at this book, like horror, superhero, action, adventure. But in your own words, how would you describe this book to someone? And do you think there's other genres or other properties that you would compare it to?
That's a superhero horror action comic. Just kidding. Just repeat what you said. No, but I think it's like...
It's not wrong.
Yeah, it's like, it's your classic kind of teen, your Invincible, your Spider-Man's, that kind of superhero trope. But with that horror element to it, and you can see the influence of like, you have like making not just a cool villain, but making like Jason and Michael Myers like a superhero, like this big lumbering guy, crazy mask, kind of like a mechanic's jumpsuit. And like I said, the violence might be off-putting to some people, and I have to kind of try to, because I grew up on like gory stuff from the 80s, so that kind of, I think of this type of violence as like over-the-top cartoony violence.
It's exploitation.
Yeah.
It's like
it's not like torture porn to me. It's like a different thing.
No.
So, but some people, that's just, okay, this
less
is too much.
Eli Roth, more Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, and then with this comic is like, it gets, I mean, they don't mess around. Like, because like with Invincible, you read it and then the gore comes later. Like, it gets really like crazy gory. But like with this comic, it sets that foundation right up front with that 2-page spread. Like, as soon as you turn that first page, it's like him and like all these bodies cut in half and intestines and stuff, and it's just intense stuff. So you kind of, right off the bat, you're either in or you're out. You're either on board or you're okay, this isn't for me. So, but like I said, it's like, if you like that classic superhero story, but with that heavy kind of a horror element added to it, I think this is a winner. His artwork is perfect for this. The colorist, I couldn't imagine having to color all this. Treadmore's artwork. But like I said, it's definitely a combination. I think it's a rare, like, successful where you can combine these genres and then make it work.
Yeah, I think the colorist is a guy named Felipe Sobrero, who is, I wanted to mention him earlier. Yeah. So, and that's definitely an important part of this book.
Yeah.
In regards to like the hyper violence, for me, it never felt distracting or that they lavished in it. It was kind of like C said, it was more like kind of gloss to it. Ashley, can you recall like your first time reading it, and does this comic still hold up? Does it still respect your time? Yo, this is Badr. Sorry for interrupting this episode, but I'll keep it brief. I wanted to let you know about a massive sale we have going on over at the Shortbox store on all of our merchandise and apparel. That's theshortboxstore.bigcartel.com. You can now save 20% off your entire order using the discount code YOO, YOO. So if you've been waiting for the right time to finally buy that gauntlet snapback, or if you ever wanted to buy any of the shirts you see me wear on the podcast, well, now's your chance to get them for a steal. We still have a few sizes left of everything, but they won't last long, and once they're gone, they are gone. And then I mentioned that all of our apparel is screen printed on high quality material. None of that heat transfer or direct to garment stuff. Our shirts are some of the most comfortable ones you'll ever wear, and the hats look even better in person. So wear your support for the Shortbox Nation proudly, knowing that you're going to look damn good doing it. Get to theshortboxstore.bigcartel.com as soon as you can, and don't forget to use that discount code YOO, Y-O-O, to save 20% off your entire order. All of this information can be found in this episode's show notes if you want to get there faster. Thanks for not pressing fast forward. Now back to the show.
Yeah, I was actually really happy to reread this book, and I kind of like took my time with it. But yeah, like Ed said, it really rereading it now, and I had never read that intro by Justin Jordan before, and I think that added a lot to it because it does remind me of Spider-Man and Nailbiter, which is like what other comic could do that. But yeah, it was really fun. I just like reread it last night, just laying on the couch, and it was like a good Saturday night.
And it's a quick read too. It's not like a
Right.
Alan Moore dense, read. It's something. It's mostly action, so it's a really quick, fun read.
What are you trying to say by that, Ed? It's me, Alan Moore.
Oh no!
I thought we were homies.
And actually, can you recall or share what were some of your like initial thoughts being introduced to Tradd Moore's artwork for like the first time?
His artwork is amazing. I think it's perfect for this book because it has like the way he draws faces is almost like this sort of like delicate quality. Like the noses have like a little
look too small for the heads.
Yeah, there's like delicate features, and then you turn the page and there's just like muscles and intestines and stuff. And
his line work is
it's so
clean.
fine.
So fucking
it's
clean.
so good.
And like I see and I didn't really think about it going back because I was just trying to because he's like a very unique. I mean, you see his stuff and it's like that's Tradd Moore, it's a very unique style. But I see some like with all like those little fine lines in the face. It's like I see a lot of like kind of John Romita Jr. Influences with it. A lot more dynamic, but yeah, his sense of movement and like those dynamic lines, and it's not like just random. Like manga action lines,
Sure,
it's
right.
It's like everything is just so fluid. It's so animated and detailed, which is hard to do both.
I was going to say it's weird that from a psychological perspective, if you know anybody with anger issues, and you can actually, this is kind of interesting test. You could ask them to sign their name, like their signature, and if there's a lot of angles and sharp sort of like really things like that, there's a lot of anger in that person, deep seated, right?
You know it.
Well, this book's a really angry book. It's a very visceral, violent book, but there's so much curve and beauty to it that you're like, it's very juxtaposed against like the sort of like. You look at Spawn, for instance, that's an angry book too. And you could tell because it's very angular and there's a lot of like hard, strong, like corners. But this is like there's legs being swung around and it looks all weird and loopy.
Bendy and right. But it doesn't
very curved.
Distract,
Right.
And Tradd Moore, I feel like he does a really good job of showcasing or getting across like the emotions just through the eyes of the character he draws. Like the mother in this in the comic book. You can tell like she probably has many a sleepless nights, worried about her abusive husband coming back because like the way he draws bags under her eyes, or when he draws the librarian finally like kind of getting pissed and like that very like beady red eyes he draws, something about his eyes like. He does a good job of projecting the emotions intended for these characters. See, I want to go to you next, but first let's go and take a quick commercial break. We got a few words that we want to share about our sponsor, Gotham City Limit. So we'll play this commercial and be right back. Hey, Shortbox Nation. Sorry for the interruption, but we want to talk about one of our favorite comic shops that happens to be a proud sponsor of this here podcast.
You talking about Gotham City Limits?
Whoa, Batman, what are you doing here?
It's just me, Badr at sea. I've got laryngitis. But you know what doesn't have laryngitis? Jacksonville's premier location for comic books, collectibles, toys, and more.
Oh, and don't forget, pool customers get 10% off their comics.
Shut up, I'm talking now, punk. Gotham City Limits offers free bags and boards.
And 20% off trades and hardcovers.
I don't need a Robin for this ad spot.
But Batman, you're forgetting about the most important part about Gotham City Limit. It's a comic shop welcome to everyone, for the diehard collectors and the new fans.
I told you I'm not Batman, but have Alfred get the car ready. I'm rich, so it's on me. We're going to Gotham City Limits to spend some money on comics.
See, so the story starts out with Luthor, a socially awkward nerd with an abusive past, and by the end we're introduced to Luthor, the demigod, essentially. But if we were to look at the story's middle, what in your opinion would be the three biggest or notable moments?
I would say the time where you see the little montage of his strength sort of increasing as he does the Hercules method, which is kind of neat. That's cool. And I think his fantasy with the bully, where it shows that he knows how to show restraint, where like you're looking like Jesus, he's cutting people's heads off and beating the shit out of them, and then it's all in his head, right?
He killed
like
the whole school. He
right?
just went
Like it's
nuts.
like that's how teenagers feel sometimes, especially a guy like that. And this next one isn't so much a plot point so much as it is something that helps later on throughout the entire series. Any scene with Petra. And I'm wondering if Justin Jordan's nerdy enough to know that Petra means rock in Greek, and she's kind of his rock in that fucking story. Like, I mean, I wouldn't put it past him, and it's freaking awesome.
Yeah, and it's cool to have like a Mary Jane type, a different type of Mary Jane type of character.
Sure.
Yeah.
And she's a redhead, so it's like, I don't know if that's like a little nod to Mary Jane.
Could be. Why not?
Yeah.
Ed, what do you think about some of these like character designs from like the Librarian, or even like as I feel like streamlined or simple as Luthor Strode's costume is? He doesn't have something like flashy, or compared to like some of the other genres it's supposed to, kind of be based off.
Yeah, I
of.
think with this character, because it is taking the supernatural element out of it, it's kind of like, what would you wear? It's like you'd get like a jumpsuit and a mask. You'd kind of makeshift. So he doesn't need like an ornate, crazy, costume for this, for this storyline. But the character designs I really like. He really does a good job of drawing people in different age groups. Like Luthor looks like a kid, Pete looks like a kid. His mom looks like a mom. It's like they don't look like just the same person, different heights.
Right.
So every character has a unique look and a unique, shape. I think even just like the stature of Luthor Strode once he's like his final form in this first arc, that's enough of a cool character design. That mask is really cool, just like with the hair flopping down and the red eyes. That's just awesome. You don't need to have like overly, and it's kind of like when you look at some of the best, like Japanese influences, like a lot of those character designs are really simple. Like Dragon Ball Z stuff. It's like a lot of those characters are fairly simple designs. They're not too. Some characters have crazy armor and stuff, but it's pretty simple. It's like that rule with the silhouettes. You see the silhouette, you know who that is.
What about you, man? I mean, you're into capes and all kinds of shit.
Man.
Like, what do you think about that? Like, it's not your typical.
Yeah, you like the Dickies
colorful.
Jumpsuit?
I got one in the closet. It's some very confident storytelling in this, and like art wise, like. That was one thing I kind of gleamed from our conversation with Justin Jordan, is that he's a very confident storyteller. And when you look at like some of the references and the things that he's pulling from, not just, kind of flexing like his comic book fandom, with choosing such an obscure MacGuffin, with the Charles Atlas book, like only real, I feel like comic
a real
heads.
fan would
Exactly,
get it, yeah.
And there's some respect to that. And like I said, it never feels like the violence that detracts from the main story.
I think this is also, and again, I don't know if Justin thought about this. If he did, fucking awesome. Good. More power to him. And I love the book even more because of it. But the idea that Luthor's power doesn't come, spoilers, by the way, we already did it, but Luthor's power doesn't come from a radioactive spider or he's a Kryptonian. It comes from murder. It comes from the very first murderer, Cain, basically writing down all the secrets and magic that he learned from living an immortal's life.
Basically like how to unlock 100% of the human's potential.
Right.
So they present it like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So the idea that he's got this ability and it has connections time-wise to the very first superhero ever, if you want a superpowered individual ever being the mark of Cain, like God basically saying, not only are you immortal, but you're fucking set apart from everybody. And
he's the first murderer.
Right, on top of all that. So, like, it's like not only one shit that fucking happened in this universe, like it's not a myth, it's real. And then on top of that too, if his connection is to that, then it wouldn't be to anything superhero wise. It would be his costume should be primal. It should be as simple as I am a shaman, I'm putting on a mask. Yeah. And that's it. That's all I need. And like who I am is I'm the boogeyman, except I'm just not a bad person. That's fucking, I don't know. I really thought that was really cool.
Yeah. No, yeah, exactly. Kudos. It's, the way he's tying like all of these different references, like from the Bible to old school comic books to maybe even, and I know for a fact, I want to say I've read or at least heard Justin Jordan say that, Robert Kirkman was a big influence on him, specifically like Invincible. And I'm seeing like some of those shades, Invincible, which is, derivative of kind of Spider-Man or homage to Spider-Man in itself. So it's cool to like see all these different references he's pulling together, and not just from like, Bible superheroes, but also like the horror stuff, I wonder what movies, probably played a big influence on that.
Got like
Highlander.
Highlander. What I got in that last fight where he takes his own intestines and chokes him out. He got
the Toxic Avenger?
Fucking rad.
And
that is
Ricky
so
O. Story of Ricky.
I think some of Trad Moore's influences for this series might be, you could probably almost point to some of the posters in Luther's room. There's like a scene or two, actually a couple scenes, where Luther and his friend Pete are in his room. And if you look kind of closely in the background, there's like a Dragon Ball Z poster. There's an Akira poster. I think there's a All-Star Superman poster. So, once again, it feels like this was Trad Moore and Justin Jordan's opportunity to tell, and pay homage to all of these creators and titles that, they probably hold in really high regard. Ashley, between Luther choking out the librarian with his own intestines and snapping his neck, or when Luther ripped out his spine with his bare hands, are there any other scenes or panels from this comic book that were just as equally pretty fucking insane?
His friend, like when they catch up with poor little Pete.
Oh, he's like crucified.
Yeah, that was a pretty rough one.
And it's kind of with the whole religious thing. They had him in like a crucified position.
While we're talking about it, I was going to say the Epic of Gilgamesh is a big thing. It's the oldest story that we have, and he has a best friend, and that's a big plot point, like that Gilgamesh and Enkidu are like homies, and like. And Enkidu doesn't have like the powers that Gilgamesh does, but he still rolls with him, I don't know, man. There's so much there, and the tie back to Cain, like the old fucking shit. I don't know, I'm wondering, and
even calling it, the Hercules method. There's that mythology,
right?
And then it's not a spoiler, but in the future volumes they do like a Samson is in that lineage.
Sure, yeah, a lot of other people too, yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of some of the other characters that have taken this method, what is it? C had mentioned, Cain being the first one, and then I think they make a shout out to Jack the Ripper.
Yeah,
this librarian.
Yeah.
Yeah, not just a shout out, right? Which leads me to my next question: has anyone read the trilogy in full? So the other two, the Legend and
I just have the first two.
Ed and I are on the same page there. We both did the first two.
Ashley, have you read any of the other series?
No, I haven't read the Legend or the Legacy. But just I think rereading this and kind of looking for stuff to read. I think I'm going to read it in the next couple weeks.
Badr mentioned the first 2 pages of the first trade where you see like all those people in chains, like those are like cult members that were on the naughty list.
And he is like a really cool design. He's
he
like
does.
Very anime.
Very anime.
Yeah.
Super like Helsing kind of shit.
Even with like the crazy glowing eyes. Yeah, it's really cool.
Hell yeah, man. That's fucking.
But it's like more violence. The mythology expands, so you kind of get more of an idea what this cult is about. Because this first arc is like your origin intro, and then it just expands out from there. And like I said, he goes, I think it jumps 5 years in the second. Mm-hmm. And then he basically is just a Punisher type character. He's just going around pictures of criminals. He's just murdering. A lot more violence. It doesn't get less violent, guys.
Right.
It really ramps up.
So, Badr, I got a question, man. So we interviewed Justin Jordan back in October, and it was a few days before the news that they were going to do a film adaptation of this freaking awesome comic, man. What do you think, man? Like, is that something that you'd be interested in, like seeing the movie, or fucking where you're like, I think the comic's better. I don't know how they can translate it to a movie, or go fuck yourself, see.
Oh man.
So my first thought was surprise when the news dropped, because it dropped on the same day that our interview dropped with him. And at first I was a little disappointed that we weren't able to get the news out of him during the interview, which made it kind of like even.
God damn it, we got scooped.
Latino review. But I do remember we did discuss with him his dream casting for the movie, which makes it even more funnier when you find out days later the news came out. So he was like probably holding in and laughing. But he had mentioned his dream. He had mentioned his dream casting, and I don't think they've announced any type of casting yet. His dream casting was Liam Hemsworth, but a younger version. And his primary one was Aaron Taylor Johnson, so the guy who plays Kick-Ass and
Yeah.
Pietro and
No stranger to getting in shape real fast for a movie.
Yeah.
Sure.
And
They
then
could get like any kind of
They
like
really- I was-
Darth Vader type situation with him.
I was
going to
say
CG.
they could get any actor or race to play this person too. That's the kind of cool thing about it. Homeboy's name's Luther. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like
Luther
we need-
Vandross?
Why not get a brother? Here and now, I promise to love.
a young Idris Elba.
Terry Crews in a blonde wig. That'd be awesome.
My next like some white girl shit for that movie, White Girls. My next thought about the announcement is a sense of confidence. So it's a new production company called All Nighter, who at a high level, they look like they have a passion for comic books and understanding the fandom and the source material, which makes that great, because you've got former Valiant CEO and current Bad Idea, that new comic book publisher, Dinesh Shamdasani. He's on the board for the production company. You've also got current Bad Idea publisher Hunter Goranson on there, and then former Lionsgate film / gaming executive Amanda Cruz. So you've got a trio of people running this production company that, once again, they come from that comic book background. So I would like to imagine, this is me being extremely positive and optimistic, their heart's in it. They seem really excited for the project. Yeah, and that's my other point. Justin Jordan is currently adapting the film himself. Yep. He's writing the screenplay. They're bringing Trad Moore on board. Like, they're bringing the crew on board to have a big hand in it. And then when you look at some of the other films that this production company has slated, they're doing Gideon Falls. So they're doing a TV adaptation of the Image comic series by Jeff Lemire and Andrea
By who?
Sorrentino. Jeff Lemire.
Interesting.
Ashley's a homeboy.
Oh, your favorite artist.
I like his writing.
His writing. He's one of my favorite writers.
And
Gideon Falls is really good.
Yeah, and they're doing Gideon Falls in partnership with James Wan's Atomic Monster company.
Oh shit.
All Nighter's also doing Weird Fantasy, so a new series based on the science fiction stories of the EC Comics. And they're trying to doing a live action of Final Fantasy. So when you look at their lineup of upcoming films, at least, it's like, okay, this looks like a company that has kind of found, is trying to make their niche,
Final Fantasy. So they get like a K-pop band with swords. All right.
Now, full transparency, the thing that makes me a little worried is that this is the same company that gave us the recent Vin Diesel Bloodshot movie as well, which I think only 20 people have seen that movie.
But also, Vin Diesel has a lot to do with that. We don't know. Like, creatively, he might have been dicking around, and because he's fitting the bill, and
He's
because
wanting just to get another
he's the
Riddick
guy,
movie.
right? Like, it's like he might have fucked it up, and not so much them. So I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. There's a lot of factors in there.
For sure.
And
if
Vin
the-
Diesel's not going to be directing the fucking
and if
Luther
one of the
Strode.
founders had ties with Valiant. I mean,
Yeah.
that's like a
No, that's what I'm saying. I feel
Yeah.
confident about this news in regards to who they're teaming up with.
Yeah.
It sounds like
Ninjak.
yeah. And it's cool to know that, like, it appears at least that Image is kind of carrying on their mantra of like creator owned stuff and allowing the creative team, the creators, to have a hand in this adaptation. It's not like a bunch of strangers are going to do the screenplay. It's the fucking guy writing it.
Yeah, well, the Image is just basically the publisher.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
it's
The
all-
distributor. Yeah.
Yeah, the creators have all the rights to shop around to anyone they want. And that's why everyone goes to.
Yep.
Yep.
So, and in closing, I want to go ahead and get everyone. What would you grade this? Ashley, I'll take it to you, and then if you also let me know, would you recommend this book to a new comic book reader?
I'm going to give this an A.
Nice.
I would definitely recommend this. Just knowing ahead of time that there's going to be like gore in it, and if you're up for that, yeah, I think it was a great book.
Oh, definitely, because it takes like my favorite things. It takes like a tried and true ideas and then puts like a new wrinkle to it. So that's like my favorite type of comics.
Well said. What about you? See what you were scoring this?
I'm gonna give it a fucking F because Chris suggested it.
You beat me to it. I was like, well, I can't give
Chris suggested this shit? Nah, he don't get an A from me, dude. No, seriously, it's fucking awesome. A plus, and I won't warn anybody about the blood. I'll give this to my fucking mom. Do you like wholesome comics,
Look at it.
Mom?
Look at that guy's jogging.
Read this. Here you go, Mom. Crucifixion of your best friend.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and ride the bandwagon and give this definitely an A. And knowing that there's like two other, it's part of a trilogy.
A for aroused.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, Ed. A for aroused.
Murder boners.
Would you guys agree that this is one of those titles that, whether it's a large or small extent, revolutionized image?
Hell yeah. Justin Jordan, he's been consistently good at writing comics that if you don't know anything about comic books, you can give that to somebody and that could be their first comic and they'd be like, this is a fucking awesome story. I want more of this guy. Like, that's what he's really good at. And
and he's like a fan, but he doesn't like make it not it's not
accessible, it's not unapproachable. Like if you want to fucking
but he throws the stuff in there to make like the old school fans like, oh yeah, this guy's one of us.
Right.
Right.
I think we are at a good stopping point. Chris, good selection on this week's comic book spotlight topic. We're going to go on a quick music break. We've got emails to read afterwards. We're going to do our No Comic Shop for Old Men. We'll talk a little bit about the latest episode of WandaVision. And, of course, we'll wrap it up with Champion Season. For music break, we'll play this instrumental by Mecca the Marvelous. It's called Fatima. The full song is available on his new EP that dropped earlier this month, God is Marvelous, which is available on most streaming services. But you can support the man directly by purchasing the album on marvelousmecca.bandcamp. We'll add a link to that in the episode description. So enjoy the music. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Fancy. All right, listeners, we are back. We're going to go ahead and jump into some emails that we got. So we got some that we need to play catch up with, and then we got one or two new ones. The first one is from a new listener, or someone emailing us for the first time. His name is Chuck Ellis. I'm going to pass it over to C.
Chuck Ellis. Yo, Chuck. What's up, man? Chuck is a friend of mine I've known for, Jesus, too long. 20 years, man. That's crazy. So title of his email is Wonder Woman 84, more like Fun Borno Man, I Need More.
Wow.
Yeah, that's definitely your friend.
Yeah.
Wow.
That is Cesar's friend.
That's the end of the email, right?
That's it.
Okay, good. Next.
So he wrote, hey, Cesar and other people on the Shortbox podcast.
Nice.
Yo,
Thanks.
Chuck, you ain't going to make friends here,
Thanks.
pal.
Thanks, Chuck.
Strike two.
I very much enjoyed your Mandalorian recap series, even though the third episode suffered from a distinct lack of Cesar. And I enjoyed your year-end recap show, including your takes on Wonder Woman 84. I think Cesar was right on the money, as usual.
Jesus.
I actually wrote this, guys.
Oh, my God.
I think Cesar was...
Is that your pen name?
Hold on.
Chuck Ellis?
Cesar was right on the money as usual by declaring this movie to be a fun departure from the typical fare we've come to expect from Marvel's conditioning. For what we should expect from a superhero movie and DC's ham-fisted attempts at a grimmer, grittier version of the Marvel formula. I enjoyed how bright everything seemed in this movie, harkening back to the look of the Reeves Superman films from the 70s and 80s and superhero shows like Linda Carter's Wonder Woman. I also enjoyed Pedro Pascal's fill-in as a villain, hammy bad guy that's not so bad. He could have so easily just become a stand-in for Trump, and I feel they alluded heavily to that with his hairstyle and scammy ways, but I appreciate that they complicated him by having him be from poor stock and having a genuine love for his son, despite being constantly distracted by his schemes. It made him a complex villain while not making him the anti-hero. I agree it wasn't a perfect film, but I liked it it was a tonal shift and felt more like an old school episodic story that had a lot of heart. Thank you for producing great pop culture podcasts. It's a refreshing listen and a great opportunity to hear some well thought out, nuanced takes in sci-fi, fantasy, and speculative fiction. Thanks, Chuck. I'm going to plug Chuck's YouTube channel. He's called Flying Valiant. And what Chuck does is he specializes in custom automotive miniatures. So basically, like Hot Wheels cars and whatnot for the uninitiated. But he specializes in weathering them and special effects painting the cars. And he will do like custom stuff for you. Like you can actually request shit. The channel that he has is more or less, kind of an enthusiasm for these little cars in general, both large cars and small cars. So if you want to support him on Patreon, you can at Flying Valiant. And he's got merch. And he also has a very pleasant voice, too. And contrary to the email, he usually sides with you guys more than he does with me.
Yeah, that's even more credit. I do want to ask this. Has anyone gone back to rewatch Wonder Woman?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
We all have HBO. Oh, do you have HBO Max? Fuck.
I'm broke.
You're not on this cult, man.
Yeah, no. I liked it.
All right. Ashley, you still hold the same regard?
What are you trying to do right now?
I'm just
What are you fucking trying to do? You worm-tongued motherfucker.
I'm asking a question.
Ashley.
You went from a fork tongue to a worm?
I like it more the more I watch it.
Oh, in your face.
That shit
Yeah.
didn't really turn out the way you wanted it to.
No, I wasn't looking for anything
Ashley,
negative.
I have a sign. When I have the sign
win
and
this
it
round.
says
I'm like,
read, say you like Marvel movies more, that's what you say.
Got the email. I texted you.
All right. Let's move on. Let's hear it from some of our other listeners. So this next email is from Matt Vigo.
Matt Vigo. Matt Vigo. No comic shop for old men is the title of this shit. All right. Salutations, Shortbox. Hello and happy 2021. Thank you all for providing amazing content throughout all of 2020. I truly appreciate your crew for the consistency and dedication to making the show better. Is he talking about us?
Doesn't sound like us.
Yeah, I know. It's what got me into listening to podcasts in the first place. My recommends for old men, The Plot from Vault Comics. Horror, Ancient Family Curse, beautiful, dark art. Heathen, also from Vault Comics. Norse mythology, teens figuring out their way in the world, big heart. If you haven't read any Vault Comics, you're sleeping, kid. Damn. All right. Shots.
You gonna let him just say that, Ashley?
Hold on.
Yeah, you gonna let him just besmirch our names?
Once and Future from Boom Studios. Arthurian, gory. Dan friggin' Mora on
It's really
pencils. Gorgeous colors, and Dan Mora is on pencils. I know I said it twice. I'm also co-signing on Something is Killing the Children. It, along with Once and Future, were my favorite comics of last year. Keep doing what you do, people. Matt Vigo.
Hell yeah. Shout out to Matt Vigo. I have gotten, that's not the first email. We read one last week that someone wrote in praising Something is Killing the Children. I know that was on
Nothing for Slaughterhouse 5.
on
though.
your end. Not yet.
That's on mine. What's going on?
Look,
Yeah, that was Ed's.
Yeah.
That's mine.
Yeah, that was on Edge.
Shithead.
It's well, all right. Thanks again for writing in, Matt. All right, and this last email comes from a Mr.
RC Gamut.
Gamut.
It's a cool name, too. That's fucking made up as shit. Too cool for realness. Hey, man. Sorry, I'm messing with you, RC. 2021, press start. That's a cool title. All right. Hey, Team Shortbox. I thought I'd try my hand at writing an email since I haven't done so in a while. First off, Happy New Year, and thank you for the episodes, even bonus episodes, that keep me awake when I'm at work early in the morning. I really appreciate your artist and comic book spotlights since they've gotten me interested in reading those selections. In other words, I'm currently reading the Alan Moore Swamp Thing issues.
Nice.
Right? This pandemic has made me want to try other titles, so your comic book deep dive segments have served as great informations. Champions. I'm also reading the novel Ready Player 2, the sequel to Ready Player 1 by Ernest Cline. While it is a Matrix-level adventure story, there is a lot of information about retro pop culture that keeps me interested. So, definitely check it out. I'm also championing WandaVision. As a child of the 90s, I often set my bedtime for school when Nick at Night came on at 8 p.m. So, it's nice to relive that nostalgic feeling of my youth. I have theories on what's happening in the series, but needless to say, I'm glad this MCU drought is over. Drought? It's only been a year. Sorry for the long email. Take care, everybody. Yes. Badr, did you write this one? God, it's been a real MCU drought. We haven't had a
What do we
Marvel
even
property.
talk about?
We haven't had a Marvel property in 2 minutes. Take care, everybody. I will continue to give you my fucking money on Patreon.
Yeah.
Thanks again. Keeping it geeky. Then, now, and forever. RC. Man, that was really good. RC.
Yeah, I'm glad I wrote. I mean, RC.
Whoa.
You son of a bitch! I knew that name was too cool.
It's all a lie.
RC, let us know what you think about Alan Moore Swamp Thing as you progress.
Yes.
Speaking of WandaVision, Cesar, thank you
here
for
we
that.
go.
Segway master.
It's what we do, baby.
Ooh.
Has everyone watched the latest episode 3 of
Nope.
WandaVision?
I haven't watched any of them.
Ed, is that like a just conscious thing, or are you just waiting till the end?
don't.
Do you mind if we spoil it?
No.
Okay, perfect. Ashley, how are you enjoying WandaVision, and what did you think about this week's episode?
I am having a hard time getting into this series. As excited as I was for it, and I appreciate, character building and, making the plot kind of drawn out. I've seen The Wire. I'm on my second rewatch of The Wire, so I
Jesus.
can appreciate these things.
Don't go to Maryland.
But I
Shit, Ashley's ready for
That shit's
Maryland.
real. That shit is real.
Training. It's research.
swear, I have watched 3 episodes of this show, and I've had 10 interesting minutes
Wow.
in the whole thing.
How long is the show? An hour?
I think
30,
it's only like
35
30
minutes.
something minutes.
Wow, that's not good.
Thanks for that opinion, Cesar. I didn't know you were.
Damn.
And I tend to like
good.
a
Cesar write
lot
your
of
script?
things.
No, you do.
I really do. And first, I just cannot get into this. I don't know if I'm like looking for something else out of it, but it's just too cheesy. They made it last too long with like the cheesiness.
Now, this doesn't have the integrity story-wise that Ghost Rider does, right? With Nicolas Cage.
I would rather put in my special DVD edition of Ghost Rider, Spirit of Vengeance, even.
Jesus!
Oh,
Then
my
have
boy.
to
Ashley,
rewatch
please.
these 3 episodes.
Ashley, please, they're children present. Please.
Are you going to stick through it just to kind of see how it goes, or?
Yeah, I am.
You know what that was, right? That was a boss flex right now.
It was. Are you going to do your
You know,
homework?
now, Ashley, while I'm recording you, you are going to keep watching
because-
the show, right?
The very end of that 3rd episode got good. So maybe the rest of it'll be good. Maybe there were just 2.9 throwaway episodes, and then the rest of it'll be good. Yeah, slow burn.
So I think I totally understand where you're coming from, because it's not a 9-episode show; it's a 9-hour-long movie. So
Yeah.
technically, the setup has lasted an hour already in a 9-hour-long movie. So you're like, fuck. All right, I get it. I get what they're trying to do. I appreciate the artistic nods. Please get me to that fucking rising action / climax, because it's not happening yet. So you have now, just now at the end of the 3rd episode, the inciting incident. I will say, I'll give them points. Like, there are a lot of cool little nods. I love that the 1st episode is the Dick Van Dyke Show, and the 2nd episode is Bewitched. And the 3rd episode is kind of like the Brady Bunch.
It's definitely a slow burn. But what I will say, maybe the strongest point is seeing how they're like visually portraying Scarlet Witch's powers. Rather than in the MCU she just had like purple red aura around her hands and she moved stuff. Right.
So okay, Badr, let's talk about that.
I feel
shit.
like especially this episode definitely hammered home. This is how we have to show her powers. She isn't just some typical
watered down Jean Grey.
Exactly. She is a god-level mutant capable of altering reality to her whim. And this is what she is currently doing.
Which they didn't do in the movies.
No, not really well. Not at all
in the
Not
movies.
at all.
You don't. She literally says, I move things with my mind, or some bullshit like that.
They're very ambiguous powers.
Exactly. But I feel like this series does a really good job of portraying like what she is capable of really doing.
So this is going to introduce things to like the Marvel's version, multiverse.
Dude, they're leaning heavily into Wanda being able to literally change reality. Like,
you get the, and spoiler warning for anyone who hasn't watched episode
spoiler
3.
warning, spoiler warning, spoiler warning.
Please. And 3, 2, 1. This episode introduces, her children that she makes, Tommy and then Bobby. Speed
now,
and
mind
Rick.
you, they can't say that
Yeah,
her kids are actually shards of a demonic entity that tricked her into thinking they were actually her kids
Not yet.
/comics. Right.
Yeah, not yet.
Right. But essentially, they give us the watered down version of that, which is she uses her reality warping powers to have children, which is like what Vision is just as confused. Like he's like,
dude,
I am a robot,
I don't have a penis.
no Huang. So
yeah.
Maybe he's like Data from Star Trek.
Data could fuck.
Oh yeah, he did.
I saw that episode.
Down.
And I feel like Elizabeth and Paul are both flexing like some A+ acting chops. You know, they're not having to play.
You're on first name basis with them?
Wow.
Jesus. I feel like
Shut up, you stupid.
I feel like Elizabeth and Paul, who I had dinner with last
Friends
night.
call her Liz.
Ian B, you know.
They
Stupid.
or as I like to call them playfully, Paul Elizabeth. We're having fun. We're having fun.
I was
good friends.
I was just really trying to impress Ashley. That's it. You know. She's got all the celebrity
Wow.
friends. For once, I want
know.
some.
Wow.
But I feel like their acting chops have been fantastic in this. You know,
Yeah.
they're not having to play your stereotypical like grandiose superhero for monologue. Like they're able to like play around with different hats. And I feel like Paul has been killing it lately. But yeah, I've been, like I said, I think just from a visual perspective, I've been enjoying that. But actually, I am in agreement with you. It's like, all right, this is really slow burn. You're like, you know, the amount that we're, I'm right there with you. I have to say that.
I don't have any problems with that at all because I watched 18 hours of Twin Peaks season 3.
All right, but the only highlights I have for this episode, and then we'll move on, is that we get the introduction of Wanda's kids, Speed and Wiccan, who I'm sure might play a bigger role later down the road.
Oh, you mean Liz's kids?
Yeah, Liz's kids, Liz's imaginary kids. Monica Rambeau, once again, she was a little kid in the Captain Marvel movie. I think she plays a agent of S.W.O.R.D. in this series, especially this episode. They kind of talk about her being, not part of the neighborhood, someone that's kind of just infiltrated the area. My outstanding question or theory I've got is I wonder if Hydra has a bigger role in this than they've let on. I mean, all of the commercials have been like about Hydra products.
Not all of them.
Which one has it?
Not all of them.
Which one has it?
They did.
The Watch with Strucker.
Yeah.
They did the Hydra soap, which was a callback to like an Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. episode.
Stark.
The Stark one, yes.
Come
yes.
on,
I'll
man.
give you that. No, I'll give you that. The toaster commercial.
Do the
You're right.
rocks on? Any rocks on?
Not yet.
Not yet. So
Not yet.
I'm curious if Hydra has any influence on Wanda or some other force behind it. Because if you remember in Age of Ultron, they were experiments of Strucker and Hydra.
I
and whatnot.
think
Hit it.
now that they have the X-Men, they're going to retcon all that shit by saying, oh, you were never really enhanced. What the Mind Gem actually did was awaken your already latent mutant abilities that were going to come out anyway. The name of the game is what's going to make the most money.
X-Men.
So X-Men. So it's mutants is what's in fashion.
We'll see. We'll see if next week's episode wins you over, Ash. I'm right there with you. Though. I'm ready for this shit to like pick up a little bit more.
If Wonder Man and Tigress show up, I'll watch.
Nice.
Bikini Tiger?
Oh,
in bikini?
fuck yeah.
And, oh, yeah.
All right.
Drawn by Frank Cho.
Oh, boy.
Whoa. Be still my heart.
So we'll continue. We'll pick up the convo next week because I know that our next 2 comic spotlights will kind of be WandaVision influenced. So we'll talk some more about WandaVision as the month progresses and the show progresses. But I want to go ahead and thank everyone that submitted an email. Shout out to Chuck, Matt, and RC for those emails. And for those of you listening, and you want to go ahead and chime in, share a champion, or mention some comic books that you think we'd like, shoot us an email at theshortboxjacks@gmail.com. Moving on, I want to go into our newish segment that we introduced a couple episodes ago. No comic shop for old men.
No comic shop for old men.
We discussed about doing a new format,
Right.
Something closer to a 4-way Mexican standoff where each one of us is going to chance to highlight and champion one new comic book title that we've recently read. And the comic that has been read by the least amount of people, that winner gets to announce how much better they are than the rest of us. Ed, I'm going to start out with you, man.
Oh.
Well, I thought we were all going to do it at the same time.
Oh.
Do you know how much of a
1,
jumble
2,
that would be?
3.
Yeah. No, we're going to still do it at the same time.
All right.
And then we'll do it again.
Let me go ahead and entertain this.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to put you out for a better show.
Not my idea. I don't like
All right. On the count of 3. All right. On the count of 3, we'll all announce the comic book we're
This is
choosing.
ridiculous.
And then we'll go around. All right. 1, 2, 3.
Yes, I'm fucking better than you.
Oh, this is great.
Still.
This is much. You're right.
Yes.
This is much better.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you for playing, everyone. I'm still better than everyone.
Ed, kick us off, man.
Okay. Well, I picked up this week is Brandon Graham's Rain Like Hammers. Very interesting. Definitely pops out off the shelf. I first got introduced to him with his Prophet run, and I always liked his art. Kind of has like a Peter Max-ish, simple cartoony style, deceptively simple. It's basically like you follow this one guy who kind of it's like a cubicle job, but set in a walking city that's walking this sci-fi desert. So it's like a very slow. You kind of see his daily routine. Like it's like old school science fiction where everything is like pristine and new. Like, nothing has been touched. There's only like a few people around, him and his couple buddies at work.
Not talking George Lucas's used space.
Not used future. No,
Right.
No used future here. Everything's brand new. And reading his notes on the back, it's basically when Brandon was living in Vancouver, he felt very isolated and depressed. He suffers from depression. So he felt like he was walking in this empty city day to day. And he's been writing this for a while, so he finally has published this. So it's kind of like a analogy to his like him dealing with loneliness, depression, kind of his monotonous life at the time, but set in this kind of almost like Mobius science fiction desert. So it's really cool. I see some of those influences, and it struck out just because of the style alone. Just really popped out at me, and just. Especially just talking about Luther Strode, this is the exact opposite. So it's like nothing much really happens. It's very sparse, but very well designed. Kind of a nice change of pace. And I like his work. I kind of know what to expect reading the Prophet series. And like I said, I guess I could relate to it. And I guess it was just a sad day and I saw it and I just got it. But I really like it. It's, very nicely done. I think it's only going to be like a 5 or 6 issue series.
Or you were going extremely out of your way to make sure none of us fucking would pick up a book.
honestly,
Like it's like
So glad you said. I was like,
honestly,
all right,
I didn't
we
know
get
those
it. You're better
rules.
than
Those
us.
rules were just made up
it's true.
last night.
It's true.
Give us a name one more time for that comic.
Oh, it's Rain Like Hammers by Brandon Graham.
Fantastic.
And check out the Prophet stuff too. That's really good.
All right, Ashley, what do you got lined up?
I've been reading a lot of the future state stuff just to kind of keep up on my comic book knowledge.
Damn.
So the one that stands out is the Superwoman. It's drawn by Marguerite Sauvage and written by Marguerite Bennett. So it kind of looks like a Image comic, even though it's like DC, and it's like real like fantasy.
I'm looking this up.
Yeah, it's really nice. It has like a really cool look to it, and it just feels refreshing because it's not like a regular looking like future state with all the stuff I've been reading. So that's my pick for the week.
T, what about you? What you got lined up?
I went to Walt's comic book shop actually, and shout outs to Oral who works there. He suggested Batman Catwoman, and his pitch was amazing. It's a time jump sort of story where you do past, present, future. And past, they show like, tributes to old school Batman Catwoman capers where they're like almost at odds with each other. Present with the Tom King run, where they're kind of like together as a couple, dealing with, their differences regarding how they view the world and their values. And then a future where Batman is dead and Catwoman's basically out for revenge. And she's not hindered by Batman as her moral compass, where she's like, sweetheart, I only didn't kill because we were stooping, like now now he's gone. So she's like fucking gloves are off, about to fucking murder some fucking assholes that deserve it. Andrea Beaumont from Mask of the Phantasm plays a big part in this story. And it's fucking great. And you get fucking David Bowie Joker from like Dark Knight Returns. So it's really good. Clay Mann's doing the art.
Looks good.
I highly recommend it. It's fun. The second issue's out now. But it's good. It's fun. It's the best way to describe it is it's fun if you like Batman. It reminded me of like really good episodes of the animated series.
Nice.
Better than you.
I'll go and spotlight.
2 mainstream picks. These two.
Strange.
Make it 3.
Oh, no.
Ashley, I'm going to. I'm in your circle as well. My selection this week is a DC Future State title. It is a DC Future State Swamp Thing, number 1.
Oh, read it.
Wow.
Oh, you did?
Swamp
Sorry,
Thizzle.
I'm definitely out of the running. The DC line of comics, Future State, it's an initiative that allows DC to offer a look at possible futures within the DC universe, as well as like present or alternate versions of the heroes and villains of today. It's supposed to take place right after DC Death Metal. So it's a bunch of like different multiverse stories and whatnot. The Swamp Thing issue is centered on a post-apocalyptic vision of the DC universe where everything is overrun by plants. They've become the dominant form of life in the universe, and it follows old Swampy, Mr. Green, with
Swampy.
his Swampy.
We're on first name basis.
Mr.
Oh, very good.
It's him and his crew of other fellow swamp people, and they're on in search of the last remaining humans of the Earth. You don't really get a lot of information as to why it's kind of a post-apocalyptic world where all the humans go. They kind of just hint at global warming, as well as maybe something that Swampy did himself.
Swampy.
God, I hate you so much.
But yeah, it's written by Ram V, and then Mike Perkins, who I'm definitely familiar with.
Oh,
Does
Mikey P.
Yeah, Mike.
Yeah,
Mikey
me and
P.
Mike know each other.
Yeah,
Mikey P.
so Mike Perkins is the
percolator.
artwork. It looks fantastic. It's only a 2-issue miniseries, which is really good.
I was saying, if you really like Mike Perkins' work, I suggest his run for Marvel on The Stand. It's fucking amazing.
Oh, that's
Nice.
why I recognize
It's fucking really good photorealistic shit, but he doesn't rely. I mean, the guy is amazing, almost like Neil Adams level good anatomy.
Ashley, do you also feel like it takes kind of some ties from some of the other more iconic series?
Yeah, and that's why I like these books, because you're not expecting it to really go anywhere. It's just going to kind of be like these short little,
Yeah.
it is. It's just like
No
a little
commitments.
event. Yeah. There's like no big stakes. It's just fun.
And it's not like $8 like the other Future State. first
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So, and I picked it up primarily because this was like the pick of the week at Gotham. And I hadn't read any of the other DC Future State books. Like I know the big three will probably be really good, any of the Superman or Batmans, but the Swamp Thing one was definitely one that intrigued me. So DC Future State Swamp Thing number 1 is my pick. Do we have a clear winner who can say that?
Of course, me. I'm fucking better than you.
I think we just have a clear loser.
Wow, this really could be the Better Than Badr segment.
Ed and I won.
Then Badr!
I think we won.
What about Ashley?
No, Ashley
Did
doesn't.
anyone else read Superwoman?
The idea is to say that you're
understand.
better than the person. There are no rules.
So we're
the
better
only
than-
rule,
better than Badr.
right? The only rule
Yeah,
is that I have always won. That's the rule.
Oh.
Yeah, this is still a segment in process.
Thank you for really getting
man.
on board. Everybody
Thanks
that's
for letting
listening,
us work this out on
guys,
air.
guys, if you have any ideas for how this segment should run, we don't give a fuck. So,
no.
thank you for listening and supporting our shit.
Yeah, any excuse to talk comic books.
Pretty much it.
All right. Well, look. Before we wrap this segment up, here are the 3 comic books that our good friend and sponsor, Gotham City Limit, is saying that you should consider putting on your pull list or ordering before the cutoff date of February 1st. The first comic book is one by Image. It's a new number 1. It's called 2 Moons. It's a new ongoing horror series that follows a young man fighting for the Union in the Civil War, only to discover horrors far worse than combat. Comic book number 2 is Daredevil number 25 is going on his 3rd printing. As many of you probably know, this is the issue where Elektra dons the Daredevil outfit. It immediately sold out. I mean, it's already on the 3rd printing, so that's number 2 that he's telling you to be aware of. And then comic book number 3 that you should consider putting on your pull list before the cutoff date of February 1st is Berserker number 1. This is that Keanu Reeves comic book that everyone's been talking about.
Whoa. I'm like an immortal badass.
Yeah. And the note here says, a brutally violent new series about one immortal warrior's fight through the ages. So imagine, it is kind of like Highlander for the most part.
Yeah.
So get these comic books on your pull list or your subscription.
What were they again?
Berserker number 1, Daredevil number 25, and 2 Moons number 1. These are comic books that our friends over at Gotham are thinking will easily sell out. So if you don't got them on your pull list by the FOC final order cutoff date of February 1st, 21st.
We're trying to give you the inside fucking scoop.
Don't
guys.
get FOMO. Get FO. Shit.
A lot to work out. A lot to work
we
out.
gotta work it out. We're
Yeah.
All right.
So basically, just try and heed our warning.
so dramatic. Heed all warning.
That's true. We don't like seeing people walk into the store and then be like, shit, this could have been avoided. Like, come on now.
I had nightmares about that incident.
And it's 2 months. You got.
I mean, I could have given him my Star Wars copy, but I didn't really want to. I was like, you guys got to learn the lesson.
You have the book in your hand, and you're like, that is sad.
I put it on the bottom of my stack, like, oof, I wish I could help.
Really interested, and if you have a few extra bucks, grab a previews. That tells you everything that's coming out.
That's true.
I don't know what Marvel's doing now.
They got their own. They got their own. Let's start wrapping up this episode, but of course, we've got to go ahead and do our infamous Champion Season segment. For those of you tuning in for the first time, Champion Season is our last segment of the show. It is our opportunity to go around the table and highlight a few things from the pop culture and comic books, both old and new, that has really resonated with us this week, that we want you to know how cool it is, and hopefully you check it out. Ashley, how about you going to kick us off? What are you going to champion today?
So I'm going to champion Flaming Carrot. I know it's old. I just
Right
got
on. Yes, you're the one championing the fucking old ass shit now. Yes.
I just got a number one from Coliseum last week. I've been eyeing it for a couple weeks, and I just picked it up. But it's on like old crappy paper. It's from was it 1984 is when it started. Bob Burden. The dialogue is just like bizarre, and the drawings are just like line drawings. Like there's no color, no shading. It's just really odd, but it's so good. I don't even know how to describe it other than just it's really weird, and it's super entertaining. And I have a lot of the other issues. Aaron, when he had doubles of stuff, like at conventions, he would give me these issues.
Oh, that's nice.
So I kind of got into it, but it's really good. It's just real weird, and it keeps your attention. It's such a fun read.
I think Aaron has an original, like a Flaming Carrot.
Ooh,
drawing.
of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, that's my champion. All
right.
about this book this week.
Cool. All right, Ed, what about you? What do you champion?
Okay. It's a new book out I'm going to champion. It is called Invisible Men, the Trailblazing Black Artists of Comic Books. This is like basically African-American artists in the Golden Age, history I had no idea about, which is, and like I said, too, a kind of joke, I call myself like a historian. I really that's like one of my favorite parts of comics. And this is just a part of history that's been, just not talked about. Like I said, I didn't even guess like there's like a whole slew of artists that contributed to, the birth of comics, like one of the, handful of truly like American, art forms. And like I said, it has, short biographies of a dozen or so artists, really nice reproductions of like newspaper strips, comics, spot illustrations, magazine illustrations, great stories. And it's just a good book of reference to have in a good chunk of history that hopefully more light gets shed on, the artists in the book. But it's a beautiful hardcover. Like I said, it just came out maybe a month ago or so it's pretty new off the presses. But it's an incredible book. It's just another chapter of history just to kind of sink my teeth into. So I love it.
Cool. All right, so you take it away.
Love, craft, country. Love, craft, country. Fucking finally, Ashley. It's good. Did you finish it? I did. It's good. Now, I will say this. For those of you who are fans of H.P. Lovecraft, this show has dick all to do with H.P. Lovecraft. Fucking dick all to do with it. They should have called it Weird Tales. They should have called it Pulp Stories. They should have called it fucking John Carter of Mars. Nothing. No fucking, no fucking, nothing to do with fucking Lovecraft. Nothing. I mean,
Interesting.
More or less the themes aren't there either. But the show is fucking amazing. It's a good show. You got J.J. Abrams' money mixed with Jordan Peele's fucking creativity and Matt Ruff's weird story all mushed together. And it's so much fun. What was your favorite episode, Ashley?
The transformation one.
Oh, yeah.
Where
Oh,
just
my
the
God.
skin was just like sloughing off of these people.
Yeah.
It was so good.
My favorite is Meet Me in Daegu, the Kamiho story about Jiana, the Korean demon spirit. That's fucking, it reminded me of like a Junji Ito story. I like that every episode of Lovecraft Country is kind of like, there is an overarching story, but each episode is kind of a self-contained anthology sort of thing. Like episode 3 is kind of like a haunted house story. You have almost like a werewolf story. It's kind of like Skinwalker-y, kind of pushing it with that analogy, but it's there. You have Japanese horror influence, but told from the Korean perspective and horrors of war. You know, like it's a Korean story, but delivered to you the way Japanese horror is kind of like portrayed here, I guess, as far as like people like, Junji Ito comes to mind immediately. Takashi Miike for sure. But it's gnarly. It's good. I loved Lovecraft Country a lot. All the actors, my favorite is the actor who played Montrose. Mm-hmm. I think he's my favorite character in that show. And I don't know. I can't say enough about it. I don't want to spoil it. If you haven't seen it, it's worth a watch. I just now finished it because I just got HBO Max, so I wasn't sleeping on it. I just didn't have HBO Max.
I'll go ahead and I got 3 things to champion. 2 of them are movies that you can catch on most streaming services. The first one being One Night in Miami. You can catch that on Amazon Prime. It's directed by Regina King, and I think this is her like directorial debut. But it's based on a screenplay by Kemp Powers, based on his stage play of the same name, One Night in Miami. It's about a fictionalized meeting of Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali, Jim Brown, and Sam Cooke in a room at the Hampton House in February 1964, celebrating Ali's surprise title win over Sonny Liston. It stars Kingsley Ben-Adir, Eli Gorey, Aldous Hodge, and Leslie Odom Jr. The second movie that I'll go ahead and champion is Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. This one is on Netflix, directed by George C. Wolfe. It's based on a screenplay by Ruben Santiago Hudson, but based on a play of the same name by well-respected playwright August Wilson. It's produced by Denzel Washington, and it focuses on Ma Rainey, an influential blues singer, and dramatizes a turbulent recording session in 1927 Chicago. It stars Viola Davis as Ma Rainey in the late Chadwick Boseman's final performance. So if you're a fan of timepiece stories or jazz or movies based on screenplay or plays, then I recommend these 2. One Night in Miami, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, once again available on Netflix and Amazon Prime. And the last thing I'll champion is a YouTube channel about sneaker history and sneaker culture. It's called Nacho Average Finds. These brothers named David and Brian decided to launch this channel as a love letter to sneaker culture. They make really high quality videos. They really kind of deep dive into the not only the cultural impact but also the historical lens of certain shoes. So like why the Air Max was so important, how the Dunk became the biggest shoe, or how the Jordan blah blah blah. The one I recommend is the video on the Nike Cortez, or as many people know, the Forrest Gump shoes. That was a fantastic video, and I have a pair of those in my eBay cart right now. So that was Nacho Average Finds. If you're a sneakerhead and you just want to learn more about the actual backstory and creation and
do they have a Reebok pumps?
Yes, they do.
Oh,
they cover so many. They cover other things in sneakers too, like they'll talk about like Champion, gear, how that became, a big
how many
thing.
Children it took to make these shoes. How many fingers were broken?
Yeah. So yeah, some good videos on that YouTube channel, Nacho Average Finds. Those are my champions. I think that is everyone's champions, which means that is the end of our champion season and the end of our show crew. Before I let this pre-recorded outro fade in, do y'all have anything to plug or closing remarks you'd like to share with the listeners? Ashley, I'll let you go and kick us off. Anything you want to share?
No, not really. Glad to be out of the house, guys.
Oh,
Thanks for having me.
Hey,
Ashley, it is a pleasure when you're here
so
with
sad.
us. Ed, what about you, man? Closing remarks?
Just at about 5,000, taking commissions as always.
Ashley, are you taking commissions?
Oh,
No. I'm kind of busy right now with the other job, but I will eventually.
All right. Be on the lookout on that. In the meantime,
Pet
get
portraits.
something from EdBot. All right. See, what about you, man? Any closing remarks?
I'm going to plug my buddy Flying Valiant again. It's a fun channel. It's good to watch. Just watch Chuck's fucking channel. Good shit.
Word. Shout out to Chuck, man. And with that being said, listeners, we will catch you next week. In the meantime, be well, take care of yourselves, and keep it geeky. Yo, listeners, you have now reached the end of the show, but the convo doesn't have to stop there. Now it's your turn to chime in and tell us what you thought about this episode. Feel free to share your thoughts on Luther Strode or champion your new favorite comic. Hell, throw us a suggestion to check out. Give us something to read next episode by sending a short email to our inbox at theshortboxjacks@gmail.com or hit us up on social media. On behalf of the crew, I'm extending my appreciation to our sponsor and our Patreon subscribers for helping us keep the lights on and grow the show. If you enjoy the podcast and you're in a position to give us $1 or $2, consider becoming a Patreon subscriber. In exchange for your contributions, rewards you with bonus episodes and other cool perks. Visit patreon.com/theshortbox for more information. Thanks again for tuning in this week, and if you decide to come back in the next 2 weeks, we'll be talking not only about the 2005 Marvel series Young Avengers by Alan Heinberg and Jim Chung, but also talking with journalist Abraham Reisman about his upcoming book about Stan the Man titled True Believer, The Rise and Fall of Stan Lee. Stay tuned to the podcast feed, make sure you're subscribed to the show, and follow us on social media for anything else we come up with. In the meantime, have a great week, everyone, and please continue to make mine and yours Shortbox. And keep it geeky.